I want to show you a condo right now, and this is an actual real listing. Located in downtown Toronto in the Fort York neighborhood. This studio unit hit the market at $479,000. Then a price cut to $459,000. Terminated once again, and then relisted again at $449,000. And unfortunately, well, you guessed it, expired and relisted again at $429,000. Finally, it sold at around $424,000. And here's the thing, this is not a rare story right now. It's actually happening all across Toronto and even Vancouver and every big Canadian city. Condo sales in the GTA right now are near their lowest level in decades. In some towers, units are sitting half empty, and I've seen it myself. Nobody's buying, and we're in the middle of a housing affordability crisis in Canada, where people are desperate to get in, and there's a massive pool of unsold inventory just sitting there. Here's the problem. Number one, the majority of the condos listed in the market right now aren't owner occupied by any means. They're investor units. And when I say investor, don't picture some faceless corporation hiding behind the unit. According to Stats Canada, the typical condo landlord is, and I'm quoting this, a middle-aged and middle-class couple, just regular people. The plan was simple. Let's buy a unit, rent it out, and let the tenant cover the mortgage and build equity over time. For years, that worked beautifully. It doesn't work anymore. So let's run the numbers. Back in 2016, the average one-bedroom condo in Toronto, around $300,000. Interest rates at that time, well, they were at 2.7%. That's a mortgage payment of roughly $1,100 a month. What about the average rent for that unit? Average rent was about $1,660 at that time. Even after fees and property taxes, the condo basically would pay for itself while you would build equity over time. Now, today, that average condo in the city of Toronto is sitting at around $649,000. And the best fixed mortgage rates right now is about 4.09%. Run through the math, and you're paying north of $2,800 a month on mortgage alone, before condo fees and before property taxes. And here's the part that makes it worse than it's ever been. Today's rent is not bailing anyone out either. The average one-bedroom rent in Toronto right now actually dropped to $1,993 a month this year, down from where it was 12 months ago. So the cost of holding that unit, well, that cost went up. And the income for renting, well, that went down at the same time. That gap has never been this wide, and you just can't fix it by raising rent. The market will not bear that. Nobody's paying $3,000 plus a month for a one-bedroom condo. So the average investor right now is losing real money every single month just to hold on to that property. Now, historically, investors tolerated a shortfall like that because of the appreciation that was about to come. Lose $1,000 a month, but that unit's going up $7,000, even $10,000 a month in value. Fine, that's a trade-off, I get it, but that's not happening anymore. GTA condo prices have fallen close to 21% since their peak in early 2022. Not a single municipality in the region has posted a gain since then. So now it's not lose a little and gain a lot, but it's lose money every month and watch the thing drop in value. That's when the fear really kicks in. And that is when mom and pop landlords decide, I'm done. Let's get out of this. Let's sell before I lose any more. And it's just not exiting landlords. Pre-construction buyers, well, they're even in a worse spot. Pre-construction sales across the GTA collapsed under 1,600 units since last year, the lowest number since 1991. I actually did a video on how there have been no pre-construction launches for the first time in 35 years in the first quarter of 2026, and I'll post a video link right up here. People are walking away from their deposits entirely rather than close on units that are now worth less than what they paid for. Historically, well, pre-construction was the safest bet in the city, and I know that from first-hand experience because a lot of my clients did very well in the early 2010s. Buyers would put money down, wait for a few years, flip the unit before they even move in. They would pocket a solid gain easily. But again, that's not true anymore. The units completing right now are worth much less than what the investors paid for them years ago. There are tens of thousands of finished units sitting unsold in Toronto and Vancouver, and there are still thousands more under construction with no buyers lined up. Just a quick pause here. If you're new to my channel, I'm Arain. I'm a Toronto real estate broker. If you want help putting your plan together, whether you're buying, selling, or have any questions, you can just book a discovery call with me through the link in the description below. Our channel is growing fast, and I definitely want you to be a part of it. Let's jump right back into it. So a flood of investor-owned condos hitting the market all at the same time. Sounds like a buyer's market, right? Should be great news, absolutely. But here's the catch. A lot of these units were actually never built for people who want to live in them. Back in the 1980s, a new condo in Toronto averaged about 1,070 square feet. Usually 1 to 2 bedrooms, real living space, real dining and living space, a kitchen you can actually stand in with someone else, and great for entertainment. By the mid to late 2010s, that had shrunk to 647 square feet, down 40%. That's huge. The same concept, however, less than 2/3 of the space. And in a lot of downtown buildings right now, you're looking at units that are about 275 square feet to 350 square feet range. That's insane. The bedroom bedrooms, well, they could barely fit a bed. The dens, well, they're just a cutout of the wall. For $424,000, would you live in this? None of these units were built for families. They were built for investors first and foremost. Small units, better yield, and lower price point, easier to qualify for financing. That was the whole business model. No closets, layouts that didn't make any sense because nobody designing it was thinking about someone actually living there long term. And that shows up directly in the ownership data. See, right now in Toronto and Vancouver, condos built decades ago, before 2000, those are overwhelmingly lived in by people who actually own them. To give you an idea, 76% in Toronto and 73% in Vancouver. But the smaller condos, the ones built after 2016, the type of stock we've been talking about in this whole video, only 42% are owner occupied and 40% in Vancouver. That's less than half. Remember that studio from the start, sitting on the market for over 400 days? Compare that to a 2-bedroom unit that's 700 square feet in a similar building. Those units, well, they're moving in weeks and sometimes even listed the first time. Because the buyers who are actually out there right now, many of them are millennials, need space. Starting a family or even being a couple with a dog or even working from home in a 300 square foot box isn't realistic by any means. And today, there's just not a lot of inventory built for living life. This city really only built one kind of product, small investor-oriented units. And that is a mismatch for what buyers actually want today. So both sides, well, they're actually stuck. Sellers who need to sell can't, not without taking a loss. Buyers who want to buy, but don't love what's actually available until they finally get absorbed, which will help affordability first and foremost. But it doesn't fix the fact that a 300 square foot condo is still not a place to raise a family. If you're thinking about buying right now, this is exactly why I tell people, don't just look at the price per square foot, look at who that unit was actually built for in the first place. Some of these quote unquote deals are only deals because nobody who could actually live comfortably in them wants them. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. My name is Arain. Thanks for watching.